Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Military revenge from a non-military person. Back in the early 1990s when I was married, we had the beginnings of the internet in Brisbane, Australia. My husband, now ex, collected military insignia and he did trades with force members from all over the world. Basically, they posted pictures of what they would trade and others responded with photos of what they would be traded for and receive. Now on to the story. Came home one Friday night after work and hubby was upset. After getting the boy settled, I got him to tell me the problem. He had organized a military insignia trade with a US Marine and he had posted his items to the Marine months prior but had received nothing back. Each time he contacted the Marine, he was given conflicting excuses as to why the trade items had not been posted to him, and he now thought he was being scammed and would never receive the trade items. This had been going on for months. Now Happy was scrupulously honest, and he was very upset that a fellow military person would scam him. Now being the sort of person I am, I was very angry on his behalf. But what could we do? I mean, the trade person was half a world away in the USA. Well, I also used to watch the TV show Jag every week. I copied every message conversation Happy and the Marine had had. I saved and sorted them and uploaded them onto a special website I created just for this, using HTML code I had taught myself. I pulled an all-nighter and worked from 8 p.m. Friday night until 10 p.m. Saturday night. It was all laid out in spectacular honesty. Then I went and searched this Marine and found out his full name, address, rank and unit, commanding officer, base where he posted, and so on. Basically every bit of free information I could locate. I stung the heck out of this guy for that 26-hour time period and uploaded all that information to the brand new website as well. Then I spent a few hours from 10 p.m. Saturday night to 2 a.m. Sunday morning, getting the email address as of many US military bases as I could, all over the world. Then at 2 p.m. on Sunday morning, I sent a link to that website to every email address I had found. US Army, Marine, Air Force, JAG, embassies, etc. all over the world. And then I went to bed and slept. Woke up Sunday afternoon to a phone call from a ranking officer in the US Marines. All the items my hubby had sent the Marine for trade were being posted back to him using the fastest air freight. All trade items that were agreed upon were also being posted to hubby using the fastest air freight. The ranking officer wanted to know how much time went into my website and what hourly rate of pay was I currently on in my administration job. And I told him, for him to tell me that the money to the value of my hourly rate times the hours I put into the website would also be heading our way. I stated that once hubby's items were returned, I was more than willing to pull down the website. I respected the military from all the countries. I just did not want the Marine to be able to scam anyone else like he had tried to do to my hubby. I was told not to worry about the Marine. He was being managed by his superiors and we would never hear from him again. Yes, we did receive everything and quite fast as well for back then. Next story. Cost a timeshare scam all their sales for lying and make $5,000 doing it. This is the story of how a friend of mine nuked the timeshare scam a few years back and took them to the cleaners. Background. A friend of mine is a big dude, maybe 6'3" and 250 pounds. And he was a no-nonsense military NCO. He likes to have fun and to have a good time when he's off the clock. We will call him JB. One day he got one of those win a free week-long cruise all expenses paid phone calls. He decides to look into it because why the hell not? Calls a number back and gets a lady on the other end who gives him the rundown of how the cruise thing works. It sounds too good to be true. So he asks her, is there some sort of timeshare nonsense or other strings attached to this? And she assures him that no, there is not. He goes for it and signs up for a cruise a few months later during a block of leave. The revenge. In order to claim the cruise, he and his wife had to show up a day early to a hotel near the port where the cruise was departing. Room is paid for already as a part of the cruise package. They show up the day before and check in with the front desk. The concierge asks if they would like to upgrade to the VIP package for only $20, which includes free drinks at the hotel bar. Heck yes, he takes the upgrade and heads to the bar. JB is a social drinker, and when he gets liquored up, he starts socializing with the other bar patrons. He finds out that they are also there for the cruise, and that there is a mandatory presentation the next morning that everyone has to go to. And JB starts to smell a rat. This sounds an awful lot like a timeshare scam. Well, he's having none of it. And being good and drunk, he rallies all the cruise goers around him, about 30 people. Gets up on a table and delivers a William Wallace-style speech about how they don't have to deal with these timeshare scam artists. Within minutes, he whipped the crowd into a frenzy and convinced everyone not to buy into whatever the presentation was selling. And sure enough, the next morning everyone shows up to the presentation to claim their cruise. They are told that tickets will be given to them at the conclusion of the presentation. JP is drunk again because, well, free poos, and he's on leave. JB starts to go back into Braveheart mode, getting real loud about how it's a scam, and he was told explicitly that there is no timeshare nonsense attached to this cruise. Well, the timeshare people instantly recognize JB is bad for the business, so they usher him away from everyone else into a side room and try to talk sense into him. One of the timeshare scammers says to him, "Sir, this is a mandatory presentation. We cannot give you a ticket for the cruise unless you go to this." "Nonsense. Y'all specifically said there was no timeshare involved in this cruise." "Sir, we have all our calls recorded, and it was very clear outlined that you'd need to listen to this presentation." "Good. Let's pull up my recording, and you show me when they said that." At this point, a big beefy security-looking dude, not with the hotel, clearly a part of the timeshare company, tries to intervene because JP is getting louder and more angry. The security guy puts in a hand on JP's shoulder and says, "Sir, we're gonna have to..." "Back up, you jerk. I will rip off your head, crawl down your neck and out of you." He sure has a way with words. The security guy meekly turns tail and backs off. At this point, it is clear that they cannot let JP into the presentation or else he will ruin everything. So the director of the program pulls JP into his office, basically tells JP that they listen to his call and he's right. The lady had said there was no timeshare involved. The director admits that they aren't able to print his ticket until 12:30 p.m. The time the presentation was scheduled to end, because the company locks him in order to force people to go to the presentation. He says, "Come back at 12:30 and I will have your tickets and I will upgrade you to premium for free if you just don't go anywhere near our presentation." Too easy. JP does exactly that and then heads to the boat. Premium was like the best captain on the boat with, again, free booze and all sorts of awesome upgrades, including $5,000 on his account. Turns out everyone else who had to sit through the timeshare presentation almost missed the boat because it went so long. Not a single person bought a timeshare, and the presenters spent hours trying to convince them to. Eventually they gave up and handed everyone their tickets in defeat. In total, they made $0 in sales and lost another $5,000 to JB's free premium upgrade. Next story. No changes can be made without the account holder. A recent story reminded me of this similar story by a family member. This family member's spouse was involved in an accident that left him critically injured. They were in ICU for months and would face permanent disability upon returning home. They did not want to leave their home. It was close to the best hospital in the region, and it was their forever home. So plans began to renovate it for accessibility. In addition to the renovations, a wheelchair van was going to be needed, along with other medical equipment for home use. As she worked on all of this, it was clear that large expenditures were going to be needed, and it was going to take time to draw money out of long-term savings and retirement accounts. So she called the credit card companies to get their limit increased. Sadly, before the renovations were complete, her spouse passed away after almost 6 months of hospitalization and therapy. Now attention turned to final arrangements. The couple had always been very frugal and maintained nearly perfect credit. All credits were being paid on time, and despite carrying a balance on some cards from the construction, demolition had already started, so renovations had to continue, but at a slower pace. Money was now coming in from those long-term savings. The problem is one major credit card company refused to work with her. She tried to access the account and was told, "Sorry, I have to speak to the account holder." She explained that her spouse had passed away, and she was wanting to pay what was left on the card. She also explained that she was an account holder. The evil bank stated that she was not on the account, and she was a mere card holder and she had no rights to the account. The person on the phone explained that her husband opened the account without her and just gave her the card, and she just did not understand how credit cards worked. This was a lie. The couple had always been joint account holders on everything since they were first married for exactly this reason. They had done extensive estate planning and made sure that all their assets were protected in trusts should the worst occur. They knew their kids would be cared for and their partner would be able to access everything. Also, she ran the couple's business for over a decade, navigating a sea of regulations, insurance company billing, and payroll, finances, and taxes. Needless to say, she did not enjoy being condescended to. Unfortunately, the evil bank would not budge. They would not allow any access to the account for any reason. But for some reason, they didn't cancel the card after finding out the sole account holder had passed away. This back and forth went on for weeks, with multiple calls to the evil bank and trying to escalate the issue to the supervisors to address the state of the account. In a final attempt to show the evil bank that they were hurting themselves by this, "So I'm unable to access any part of the account even to make a payment?" "That's right." "So the account is going to be closed?" "No, only the account holder can do that." "Even though the account holder is dead?" "Only the account holder, ma'am." So what does that mean for card holders and being able to charge on the account? Only the account holder can deactivate a card or modify the account. So what happens if a card holder uses their card? They can continue to use the card until the account holder tells us otherwise. The deceased account holder? Yes, I can't help you with anything else. You need to put the account holder on the phone if you want to change anything or make a payment. No, that's fine. She broke down crying immediately after, but decided that they set the rules, so she would play by them. All the final expenses, medical bills, and as much construction cost as possible was put onto that credit card. She maxed it out and then let it sit until the credit card company started calling for payment. "I'm sorry. Per your policy, I am just a card holder, and I am not responsible for any balance. Ma'am, this balance needs to be paid or it will affect your credit." "It better not. I am not on the account. This is an illegal collections call and I will be reporting it to the FTC and the Attorneys General in your home state and mine. I still have his number on the speed dial. You can make your case to the court." She was used to getting medical insurance companies to pay claims for the last decade or so. You did not want to play hardball with her. Remember how all the assets were in trusts? On paper, her partner had no assets to place a lien on. All the cash in the joint checking account had been used to pay expenses for the last several months, and withdrawals from long-term savings were sent to her account, not the joint account. They had agreed to move all exposed assets shortly after her partner regained consciousness, fearing the worst. Plus, all the income from the business had been brought home in her name for more than a decade, so she should actually get some kind of social security payment when she got older. So not only did his estate have no assets to go after, he did not have an income for the last decade. The evil bank was left with a maxed out credit card and no assets in the estate they could file against for payment. A handful of other credit card companies worked with her to raise limits temporarily and remove daily spending caps for large expenditures. And they were all paid without a single missed late or partial payment. The evil bank had to eat a 5-figure loss, all because they decided that the wife did not deserve to be on the account from day one. She had every intention to pay every bill and expense. She has never been one to try to scam or cheat someone. She gave the evil bank every chance to accept the money for the bill, and they repeatedly refused to acknowledge her as a spouse or executor. But she sure likes the irony of the only company that refused to acknowledge the deaths of her spouse ended up paying for the funeral expenses. Next story. Why don't you come down here and be the sound man? Happened at a small outdoor live music event. The budget was tiny, so the event had a bare bones setup consisting of a drum set, a couple of amplifiers and mics, and all that goes to a mixer board. I'm not a sound guy, so I don't know the terms. The sound man hired for the show looked more like a bodyguard or a bouncer at a club. A huge skinhead guy wearing all black and looked intimidating. As the show got underway, it was clear that the sound was terrible. Thanks to the sound man fiddling with the mixer, the sound swung back and forth between muddy and screeching feedback. He was probably attempting to improve things, but it wasn't working. Then while one band was leaving and another starting to set up, unbearably loud feedback started happening. Everyone had to cover their ears till the sound man brought the volume down. The teenager shouted to the sound man, "Hey, cut the highs, man! Cut the highs!" The big, intimidating sound man did not like this one bit. "Oi, you think you're smart? Why don't you come down here and be the sound man?" "Wait, really? Are you serious?" said the teen. "Yeah, come down here and be the sound man if you're so smart, or shut your freaking mouth." The teen walked over to the mixer. The kid clearly knew what he was doing because he did not hesitate with any of the knobs and levels. He then asked the band to do a quick sound check, going through all the levels of each mic including the drums. Everything maybe took 5 minutes. When the band started their set, it was obvious to everyone that the sound was much better. The big intimidating sound man was red-faced, and he did not touch that mixer after that. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.